It's the Truepenny Show. With your host, James Truepenny.
Hello and welcome to the Truepenny Show. You may notice an echo here because I'm not in Brig, where I normally record the Truepenny Show, nor have I got anyone on Skype today. I have actual people in a room with me, and today my guests on the Truepenny Show, as we go to the Beginner's Guide of Professional Wrestling, episode 17, is Mr. Alexander Watt of the BBC. How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm good, yeah. I feel like a pop star with this microphone in my face.
And also joining me today to join the Truepenny Show family for the first time is Mr. Simon Heath, our host for today. How are you, sir?
Hello there. Host as in building, not as in... You're not expecting me to run this podcast, are you?
No.
You have to ask the question.
That is going to go... I've already mentioned that I've left my notes at home, so...
No, and we're also joined. We have got a sound engineer and everything. This is really professional. Liam, hello, sir. He's just putting his thumbs up because he's a
Sound
professional.
engineers have no
Doesn't want to
voice.
be on the audio. So today we are in Tiger Lounge in Manchester. It's a Progress Sunday, and we wanted to share some of our Progress Sunday with you. So Si very, very gratefully, as he's one of the managers here at Tiger Lounge, he offered us a home.
Don't out me. People will be able to find me now. I'll get doxxed. We're on the internet, James. I've heard stories.
I think you'll be safe. Truepenny Show listeners, you'll be all right.
Say that now, but as you get popular, you start creeping in.
I mean, now you're on the podcast as well. It's just going to go
Exactly.
uphill.
Like, I mean, I've already started doing GIFs on Twitter. That's it. I'm going to get mobbed in the streets.
You're Senor Laureato, obviously.
Whoa, now. All right. That's too much pressure.
Well, I've been to as many wrestling shows with him as I have been with you.
Well, that is probably true.
Okay, so today is Beginner's Guide to Japanese Wrestling, and we're looking at 1991 at the moment, as you probably guessed, as you've been listening to all the episodes. And we're going to shoot forward to the end of the year today, because I found a very interesting card, which kind of matches in with an episode I did with Alex Edwards a few weeks ago, when we looked at Wrestling Summit, a joint All Japan, New Japan, WWF card. This is a Super World Sports card. Now, Super World Sports was a company that was started by Genichiro Tenryu alongside an optical company. They made lots of lenses and things.
Basically funded by the Japanese version of Specsavers.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, basically. And it was a company that invested its money for Tenryu to develop a new style of wrestling, which really wasn't very new. It was very similar to All Japan Wrestling, which he'd left behind. And there's a lot of political power play we can talk about in this particular match, in this particular card as we go through. But this was an interesting card. What was your overall thoughts on it, Alex?
It was a very interesting sort of sign of the times, because we did, obviously us two did WCW New Japan a couple of weeks back. It was interesting to see the contrast between the two shows and like sort of where wrestling was in the early 90s in these weird cross-promotional shows. But I thought it was good overall. Like we'll talk more, but like it was an interesting mix of like styles and things like that, and not all WWF guys wrestling the Japanese guys, which was kind of what I was expecting going in.
Yeah, there was a lot of cross-promotional matches, and there was quite a few kind of like inter-matches, but there wasn't much WWE guy versus SWS guy versus WWF guy. So it was an interesting match. Simon, what did you think?
I'm going to spend most of the show asking why people who are signed to totally different companies are wrestling in this. Because this isn't my era. Like judging by my age, this should be my era.
Yeah.
But I was a late wrestling bloomer. So like I wasn't watching around this time, even though I would have been about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But there's so many wrestlers on this show that are from totally different companies, like not even from the WWF or from SWS or from All Japan, where it had just splintered off from. They're just from totally random companies that they're signed to.
Yeah.
And I just got totally confused by the entire thing, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Just like, here's a CMLL guy now for some reason.
Because I was just sat there on Wikipedia going, I didn't think he worked for the... Oh, no, he totally doesn't. Yeah. I was really interested about how different it was from... Because you see the WWE shows like Beast in the East that they do now when they go over there. They're very much still WWE shows. They're not, they're not WWE does Japan in any way. Whereas I thought this one it was slightly more interesting because you got to see all these WWE guys who you'd seen working a certain style for years and years and years, and now suddenly they were going over to Japan and working not completely Japanese style, but very much more than you would see them on their own TV, which I don't think you really get these days when the WWE go over particularly.
No, it's much more. I think WWF was far more willing to kind of let the home company guide them as far as how to appeal to other fans, and there's definitely cases of that as you go through this show. I mean, probably the prime example is the fact that the Legion of Doom come out to Iron Man because
yes, they do, being referred to as the Road Warriors.
Yeah. So it's very interesting as how they kind of develop the presentation. So let's have a look at the matches then. Now, the version you can find on YouTube, and I think actually there's no qualms about you finding it on YouTube because I'm not sure who owns the rights for it, and SWS closed down years ago, so no one's going to sue you. You'll be fine.
Specsavers might.
Sorry?
Specsavers might.
Specsavers might.
Japanese Specsavers will be furious.
Yeah. They're worse than student loans, man. You can't mess with them.
Now, that version of the show is the commercial tape release version of the show, and it's in 2-hour sections, which is what we watched. Now, the first few matches, which involve some interesting things like Minoru Suzuki versus Wellington Wilkins Jr., which was a squash.
I was most upset I didn't get to see this.
Yeah.
Who exactly is Wendell Wilkins Jr.?
I have no idea. I couldn't help you.
I was expecting you to give me the entire history of like.
Nah, never heard of him before.
He had a 2-3-1 record in Pancrase, and then,
Probably. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, old Wellington Wilkins Jr. could have been someone, but Minoru Suzuki killed him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll never know what he could have been.
According to Cage Match, he was also known as Beef Wellington.
Oh, Beef Wellington. Now you see.
So there you go. And
Yeah.
Shark Machine.
No, I didn't know Sharp. I do know
So
Beef Wellington.
I'm assuming that's a John Tenter reference. I don't know.
Possibly.
Just
I
in a
think so.
mask.
Like a smaller John Tenter. Beef Wellington was he was on that tag team tournament in WCW the year before in 1990. I think he was the New Zealand entry, or was on the New Zealand team.
Oh, the Memorial.
Yeah. So, I had heard of him before, but I didn't realise it was that guy. So these opening matches are all dark matches, but they're available in highlight form on the commercial release, and the actual show starts with Maxinati Funaki even, and he defeats Jerry Flynn. Jerry Flynn, who was in WCW and had a run as a guy who fought in the basement, which tells you just how much WCW was in trouble in the mid-90s.
Good mullet, though.
Very good mullet. I was going to say, after our conversation about hair last week, that was some solid Liverpool 1980s haircut on him there.
Well, we've not got to Jerry Estrada yet. So
that's true,
we have some haircuts to come, certainly. And Funaki was a big star in the 1990s, and certainly it showed in this match. He was very, very popular. A kind of very shoot-orientated match. Jerry Flynn, in his later persona, kind of tried to do this with his tongue firmly in cheek, or at least WCW's production values placed their tongue firmly in his cheek. And in this match, it was pretty much a straight-up shoot fight, and it was kind of different for a wrestling show at the time, though we get to see it a lot more, certainly in New Japan. So this kind of showed the depth with what SWS were trying to do. Si, what did you think of this match?
I really enjoyed this match, although I have to say, at about the 2-minute mark, when Jerry Flynn seemingly accidentally nearly popped Funaki's eye out with a quick kick. After that, I just assumed Jerry Flynn was going to die. Because I saw that look in Funaki's face that just sort of said, and you're going to be getting a receipt for that one, mate. But he didn't. I expected this to devolve into a proper full-on shoot with
horribleness.
Yeah. With cheekbones breaking and the like. But no, I mean, I enjoyed the finish. That's a submission move you don't often see.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the MMA style. Again, it's something you're sort of used to these days, but
it's pretty standard now.
So, but I mean, you probably saw it more in Japan back then, but especially from Funaki.
Okay, Alex, what did you think?
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if that kick was planned or not. Like, it didn't look like it.
Didn't look like it was to me either. I mean, I know those guys were laying it in, but that one just looked like it got away from him a little bit.
Too much, yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to lay it in to the eyeball.
The old shot to the eyeball. Yeah, the fact that Funaki went down for like a 9 count and then sort of got up and, like you say, looked not best pleased.
Maybe he was trying to bust the eyebrow, Harley Race style.
Possibly, yeah.
And then trying to bust the eyebrow.
No one ever tried to do it by that technique again after that. But yeah, it was an interesting sign of where I guess that style would go in the next few years, because it was very shoot, like probably too much so that way. It needed to drift a little bit over into the wrestling side for it to work properly, but it was definitely interesting. Like, it was basically 5 minutes of them battling over submissions, the kick aside. It was definitely like an interesting side of the times. Funaki went on to form Pancrase, did he not?
He was part of the Pancrase explosion, along with Minoru Suzuki and Ken Shamrock and Wayne Shamrock, and that group of people who broke away from Fujiwara a couple of years later. Fujiwara-gun, who we'll speak
Which
about
is who
later
these
on.
two were working for at the time. They
Yeah.
weren't signed to SWS. This was the
No.
first one that confused me. So I was like, I wonder. I don't remember Jerry Flynn in WWF. Let me have a look. Assuming it was going to be SWS versus WWF guys the entire way through.
Yeah.
I was like, no, neither of these guys work for either of these companies.
Well, I mean, when Tenryu left All Japan, there was some guys who were loyal to him who decided to go with him. And Kabuki had a similar kind of stable of guys that were loyal to him over Baba, and which actually did All Japan no end of favours because it cleared a lot of deadwood out. Not to say that the wrestlers that went to SWS were deadwood, but it certainly it hastened the rise of the four pillars of All Japan, who we'll talk about in a few weeks' time with the All Japan cards. But it was certainly like a key historical point that All Japan could not have its golden period without SWS being there. Baba didn't think so at the time, but actually Tenryu did him a massive favour. It allowed All Japan to have this massive creative surge because they had to create new stars, whereas SWS were having to build these established stars in a different way. One of the ways they did that was with lots of faction wrestling. It was very faction based. Because Tenryu was a former sumo, he understood that stable idea, and that's what he tried to develop in his wrestling company. So Revolution continued from All Japan Pro Wrestling. That was his stable, and there were other stables as well based around the individuals. I think Kabuki had a stable as too. So kind of Fujiwara-gun were, or Fujiwara group as they're known, were from the Fujiwara promotion, which had come out of UWF, and so they were kind of a group that were not invading SWS, but were a faction within SWS, and that shoot style was certainly important to what SWS were about.
See, that was the history lesson I was expecting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Speaking of the sublime to the ridiculous, well, we'll move on to the next match, which was Ultimo Dragon, and he defeated Jerry Estrada in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. This was an interesting one. Ultimo Dragon had worked for New Japan. He'd gone off to Mexico. He came back to Japan and was involved with several different companies at once. Kind of a very free-thinking kind of wrestler is Ultimo Dragon. He was also the first wrestler I ever interviewed in Brig, of all places.
How many belts did he have at the time?
He didn't have any at the time, but within a few months he'd won the All Japan Junior Heavyweight
Oh,
Championship.
well, that's all right then.
Yeah, he's a man who does like his glory. And he's wrestling Jerry Estrada, who was at the time was working for CMLL, but in the future would go on to be one of the cornerstone mid-card workers for AAA in the AAA revolution in Mexico. So two guys who were pretty important to the wrestling scene worldwide. What did you think of this, Alex?
I thought it was really good. Like, for 1991 lucha encounter, like a lot of flips, a lot of interesting, it told an interesting story. Like, this was, I guess, like a year into Ultimo Dragon having that gimmick. Yeah, was it not?
Yeah.
I was turned to James to confirm that I've got the information right. Like, was that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some really interesting aerial moves. Like, there was a quick pace, like the Asai moonsault from Ultimo Dragon, which went some distance.
I was like, I know that's kind of your move, mate, but you don't have to do it.
Yeah,
to
take out the fans. Yeah. Yeah, it was just I was kind of surprised how good it was to an extent. Like, obviously, Ultimo Dragon's headgear was interesting.
Yeah, that was going to be my first point.
Yeah.
What on earth was that? I mean, it wasn't dragon based.
Everything must be dragon based.
I don't know what an Ultimo is, but I don't think it's one of those.
Yeah.
It was some kind of mad Mayan.
Well, it was like a headdress. Remember, what was the WrestleMania where Rey Mysterio won the title? It was the same thing. I wonder if that was kind of what he was inspired by. I don't know.
Kind of an Inca kind of based.
Yeah, like a death mask kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Also, Estrada looked like he'd been in The Rocker's wardrobe backstage as well.
Yeah.
A lot of frills
I
there.
am all for tassels, but normally, like for me, tassels are an entrance garb.
Yes.
You know.
Not a, I mean, Jerry Estrada, I love Jerry Estrada. A lot of the matches that I watched on AAA in the mid-90s were Jerry Estrada and two other Rudos getting their heads kicked in by Rey Mysterio and a bunch of other people. So it was like, he was like, oh, this is awesome. I haven't seen this guy in ages. And watching him again, it is like, he was a lot better than people gave him credit for. He kind of like, he got lost in the shuffle as La Parka, Heavy Metal, Rey Mysterio, and the younger generation kind of steamrolled over him because they were better, to be honest. But Jerry Estrada was not a bad wrestler.
One thing that stood out was his facial expressions and reactions. Like whenever Ultimate Dragon landed on his feet, he actually sold it, which they don't do a lot in lucha. Just he's on his feet, let's carry on.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as well, it's like Estrada really stood out in AAA and CMLL because he was one of the few guys who didn't wear a mask. So you got those facial expressions a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And never ever did, I think.
No, he was always an unmasked wrestler from start to finish.
I was quite surprised I didn't know more about him because, as you say, he was really good in this match, and you were talking about La Parka and Rey Mysterio going over that sort of period to WCW and ECW and all those kind of shows, and you would have thought that he'd have got brought along as well, especially with ECW using a lot of veterans at that time. I mean, you can't say Jerry Estrada was too old for ECW.
I think if you look at, Conan was handling the booking for AAA at the time, and he kind of had a crew, like he always has, and his crew involved Rey Mysterio and Psychosis and Parker. Those were his guys.
See, it's not what you know.
It's who you know. And certainly they were the guys that he suggested to ECW at the time, because apparently Paul Heyman said, like, are you sending Rey and Psychosis? When should I put them on last? Because no one will be able to follow them. Yeah.
Just looking at Jerry Estrada now, he just seems to have a ready-made California Highway Patrol gimmick. A little uniform.
Yeah.
Trim the hair a little bit. I mean, don't go mad. Like you still want the full Dalgleish.
The full Dalgleish.
Quite rightly coined it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was an interesting match. It's certainly, the junior heavyweight division in SWS was really important to the company, more so in its successor, which was War. And we'll talk about War in a couple of episodes' time.
And what it is in fact good for.
Yes. Wrestling and romance, as it was known.
Lovely.
Yeah, there you go.
Not enough of that.
No. Or perhaps too much. Yes. We'll move on to the tag team match, which was next, which is Ashihiro Hara and Davey Boy Smith versus King Haku and Yoshiyuki Yatsu. 16 minutes and 57 seconds in what really wouldn't have been out of place in the All Japan Tag Team Tournament of a couple of months before.
No,
this was hard hitting, no selling, big lads wrestling. Of the highest order.
Here come the lads.
Hoss battle.
Slobber knocker, as JR would say. This was cool. I really like this. I like the fact that Haku always wrestled as a face in Japan and still just did heel stuff anyway.
There was a lot of that on this whole card, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think because there's a certain sort of bizarro world element to it.
Yeah.
Because they weren't entirely sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we'll come to this with the main event.
It was
That
similar,
was really interesting. But
with the WCW New Japan thing with Muta against Sting, and it's like, who's the baby face here? Like, it was really hard to tell. Yeah.
Sting.
But again, Muta was just still doing all his heel tricks in the match anyway, regardless. So
Si, what did you think of this tag match?
When this started out, I thought I was going to hate it.
Right.
Because the first 3 minutes of this was just rest hold city. And I was looking at Davey Boy and thinking, you are blown up already. Like this is not going to be.
It came in progress. It'd obviously been going for some time when it came into the match.
I think that's probably
how long has this match been going for? Because they all look fucked.
Well, the thing about Davey Boy is you never know which stage he's at in his career, whether he's like the mega athletic guy who can do it all, or whether he's got way too much muscle on his frame and can't move anymore.
Well, this was
touch of that at one period.
So this was December 91, so Wembley was like July, August 92. So it's not long before then. And he was not in the best way
was getting
around
there,
around that time.
But then it just, as you say, descended into just strong style. Like, I mean, that pile driver.
Yeah.
I think it was Yatsu gave Davey Boy.
Mm.
I mean, my indie brain just went, oh well, that's the end of the match. Like if my PWG addled mind sees just a standard pile driver, or what would be a standard pile driver, and thinks, yeah, well that's the finishing move. And no, we're gonna go another 4 minutes. It's fine, and just get up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well we are not in the WWF anymore.
No, we are in the land of King's Road. Yeah, I mean, it was a cracking bout, and you're right, it was grind to start with, but it was part of that slow build King's Road style.
No, exactly, but and normally I would have assumed that, but it was just the sort of out of shapedness of some of the because there's a certain level of dad fighting.
Yeah.
that you find on these cards.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. I love a dad fight. Yeah. Especially if it's big dads. Big dads wrestling. I'm all for that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match eventually. And as you say, the ending wouldn't have been as good without the
grind.
slow build. But I was worried for a bit.
Alex?
Yeah, it was very, very slow, the build. At one point, like I say, it came in after, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, and they looked blown up. Like, at one point, Davey Boy tags in and slaps on a rest hold and then goes back out again. It's like, how knackered are you guys? Like, but yeah, it did build well, and like, it was interesting seeing particularly like Davey Boy around that time, like just before the Wembley stuff and things like that. A lot of slaps and chops going on once they started getting into it, like you say, the King's Road style. But I was interested by like how much of the match was just like Haku beating on Davey Boy, basically. Like there was a lot of that.
As if something had happened backstage that needed to be sorted out. Like.
And it might have done with those two. That's the thing.
Well,
like.
I mean, if I was backstage and somebody had upset me, it would be Haku that I would ask to be the
The toughest man in wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone agrees on that one.
Have you heard that story about Dave Finlay and Haku in WCW?
Don't think so.
They had Haku, and then they signed Dave Finlay, and then these rumours go around the dressing room that, oh my God, someone's going to come in, he's a bigger dog than Haku. The hell's going to happen? And everyone's kind of like, everyone starts walking around on eggshells, and Bischoff gets wind of it and gets hold of Finlay when he signs him, and he was like, first thing you do is go square up to Haku in the dressing room. And they was like, why? They said, because it'll be hilarious.
It just sounds like prison. Like, pick the biggest guy.
And
this explains like WCW early 2000s booking.
Well,
it really does.
Finish the story. So Finlay goes up and squares up to Haku, and the entire locker room sharply intakes breath. And then Dave sticks his hand out, and Haku shakes his hand, and they all look around and like, "You all right?" So like, everyone like, "Ah!" And then Bischoff went in, "Ah!" Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
But yeah, I pretty much agree with everything was said. We should give a shout to the entrance music as well, like the most 90s for Haku and Yatsu. Like that was beautiful. Some serious keyboard beats in that one.
Yeah.
And then Davey and Haru coming out to Van Halen as well, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's like, we are in the early 90s now.
Yes, we are.
I ended up doing a music lesson based around Jump by Van Halen. Now I know why I got inspired to do that this week. It's subliminal.
Seeped into your brain.
Yeah. So the next match was also a tag match, which was George Takano, formerly known as the Cobra in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Shunji Takano, and they defeated the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. Now, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels had spent most of the year in SWS, actually. They were kind of like one of the guys they mainstay toured over there. They weren't spending as much time in the US as they were as the other teams in WWF. So they were really well known to SWS fans. And what I found really interesting about this match is the Rockers were on their breakup storyline at the time, which had carried on from Survivor Series 1990, and were now moving into the barbershops window era.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. How was this broadcast to the American fans?
It wasn't.
Time?
Yeah, that's what
I thought was interesting, because as you say, they were because it was 6 months before the barbershop at this point, something like that.
So I'm thinking is the SWS fans obviously were privy to the Rockers, because the Rockers had challenged the Hart Foundation on the previous Tokyo Dome show, the first Tokyo Dome show SWS had run.
And I mean, there's a lot of Stampede links in this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and
backwards talent-wise. Like.
Yeah, and also the Rockers were the Rockers and Hart Foundation on the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Rivals DVD. That match, the first match on the Tokyo Dome show, Shawn and Bret both agreed that was the best Rockers versus Hart Foundation match on tape that there was. So they put that on there as kind of like, this is the best of what the Hart Foundation can do and the best of what the Rockers can do.
And just getting them two to agree on anything is pretty impressive.
Yeah. If you watch that video, they had to shoot some background stuff, and there's them walking around a shopping mall having a really awkward conversation. We're friends now.
Yeah.
Zubaz and bumbags.
Yeah. So what did you think of this one, Si?
I just found it really interesting that they were filtering the what I would consider to be the American storylines in there. That was the thing that blew my mind. For a start, I wasn't another one of these that I wasn't sure who was supposed to be working heel here.
Yeah.
Because I felt the Rockers were, which is like something I wasn't used to seeing. But then not all the way through the match, just like here and there. And I think maybe it was just me being confused because I think it was just Shawn Michaels was either working heel or just being an arsehole because he's Shawn Michaels.
It's hard to tell if he was in character or not.
Because he's Shawn Michaels in the early 90s, obviously. Totally different human being now, clearly. So I just found that sort of dynamic really interesting. I couldn't really get into the match because of it. This sounds stupid, but I almost wanted it to be slightly more formulaic. Like because obviously the Japanese team are pretty big lads. So I was expecting it to be very much a sort of, big lads kick the hell out of the Rock and Roll Express for 20 minutes.
The Russians versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I was expecting.
Now you say it, there wasn't a lot of that. There wasn't a lot of isolating the partner and stuff like that.
That was towards the end, but that was the story of the breakup of the Rockers.
Yeah, exactly.
Jannetty trying his heart out and Michaels blaming him for everything.
Yeah, so I think the match itself kind of got lost in that secondary storyline a little bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you're following through these storylines, it would have been totally fine, but because these are isolated as single shows, you don't get that, so you have to...
But no, it was definitely interesting, like, the storyline thing. Like, to contrast that with like the WCW New Japan show, there were examples there where they just like ignored things that had happened in the US.
Doom versus Vader
Doom, that's what I was trying to think of. Doom were just back together after having split up like months before in the US, whereas this, they're like they've tried to keep that storyline going, even though, like we say, it wasn't even broadcast in the US really, so it doesn't really, no one's going to see it from that side.
Is it possible because this sort of period was like just at the very death knell of the territories? So we've got that kind of crossover of where they do the same show with the same finish, like 4 times down on the loop kind of thing. But then you now get into the stage where the internet's just around the corner. And
one of the other reasons maybe why they did it as well was because you didn't have Monday Night Raw, you still had Primetime Wrestling, and they needed content for Primetime Wrestling. Primetime was a highlight show. A lot of you youngsters won't know what Primetime Wrestling was. And Primetime Wrestling was an hour-half show that took what was the Raw slot. Essentially, it was a 2-hour show with adverts, and it was hosted by Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. And they'd be like, the show evolved into just matches with studio links, and then they had a studio audience, and then they went to a panel over the years. But essentially, it was just link bits that linked together these pretty high caliber matches. It was the best show WWE did because it was always star versus star. There was no jobber matches on it. You got some interesting jobber matches sometimes, like Bully Busick versus Brooklyn Brawler and things like that. But they picked up matches from anywhere they had a video crew during the weeks. So like you get house show stuff or videotaping stuff that would get put onto Primetime Wrestling. A lot of stuff from Madison Square Garden would go onto it because they taped every show for the Madison Square Garden network. So this show, and I'm sure I did see Japanese matches from the SWS era on Primetime, so that's maybe one of the matches they wanted to put on Primetime. Because it wouldn't really have mattered if the other team no one had heard of.
No.
So, yeah. Anything else you'd like to say about this one, Alex?
Shout out to George Takano for taking Sweet Chin Music and kicking out at 1. Like, that's a tough guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Do you know
Ric
who the
Flair
hell
couldn't
I
do
am?
that.
I know, exactly. Like,
Do you know who the hell I am? I beat Black Tiger, you know.
also,
Yeah.
Shinji rocking quite the Terry Gordy haircut as well.
Oh, it's
Oh,
beautiful,
yeah.
wasn't
Since
it?
we're on such haircut chat this week.
Well, this was the thing that surprised me most about this whole match, was that the guy with the mullet wasn't the one called George.
Yeah. Messed with your entire
Yeah, it
belief
did, because
system of wrestling.
you look at those two stood next to each other, and you're like, one of these guys is called Shunji, and the other one's called George. I'm like, well, it's going to be the one who looks like he's just got off his combine, isn't it? Surely. But no, absolutely blew
Always
my worldview.
messing with expectations.
Well, that's
Japan,
it's,
you
the,
say.
it's the beautiful thing about wrestling, isn't it? You know?
It is. Next, we had an actual WWF match, but two guys who spent a lot of time in All Japan and had strong links with Tenryu, Ted DiBiase and Kerry Von Erich. Ted DiBiase accompanied by Sensational Sherry. Now, this was about 3 years after Ted DiBiase had left All Japan Pro Wrestling to become the $1 Million Man, and Kerry Von Erich had defended various titles in Japan as part of the NWA connection from his time in Dallas, including wrestling Tenryu, which I mentioned on the Tenryu and Saruta episode I did with Chelsea and Marcus a few weeks ago. So this was an interesting match because they were both clearly trying to give it some All Japan Kings Road style, but they were WWF guys booked in a WWF match, but they were laying it in pretty thick. In fact, this was by far the best Ted DiBiase match I've seen of this era because he's actually trying rather than holding a chin lock for 15 minutes, which was his standard MO at the time.
Yeah.
Alex, what did you think of this?
Well, I was quite excited when I saw the two names, but then I remembered it was like late 91. I think Kerry Von Erich was pretty gone by this point, like with injuries and the drug stuff. Decent for what it was, but then it was clearly DiBiase carrying the match.
Yeah.
I thought like it was such a like one-man show kind of thing, and it was an impressive one-man show. I have to say. It reminded me like, hell, Ted DiBiase was really bloody good.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't think Mid-South flashbacks.
yeah. I think because of where he was positioned in the WWF at the time, people sort of sometimes overlook that he was like one of the best workers back in the day. And yeah, like he basically at one point went for like the back elbow and sold it so well. Like it was an amazing sell. It was just like, it was your classic guy could work with a broomstick kind of thing, which is a shame because Kerry Von Erich was amazing in his day. It was just like, it was not this day.
True, yeah. I mean, Kerry was... he was probably only a couple of months out of the end of his WWF run, and he'd be back in USWA fairly shortly after this, which was really sad, because I was a big Kerry Von Erich fan. I thought it was really, really good.
Oh, yeah, back in the day, he was tremendous. It was just, because he was basically working on one leg by this point, I think. Like, he got such a bad knee injury. And definitely, I'm sure this was like the era when he'd started like taking a lot of
serious painkillers and serious painkiller issues, and and he'd led a hard life up until that point. He certainly had. He was in Dallas in the 80s. He was a god amongst men. Seriously, I'm not joking. He's like when his brother passed away, I think it was like 30,000 people turned up to his funeral. This is serious rock and roll status. They could have anything they wanted and did on a regular basis, and it was kind of like, in one sense, going to the WWF was kind of a step down because there was no way he would be as beloved as he was in World Class, but World Class just was failing, and he had to go there. Interesting time certainly for him, and quite a sad chapter. But yes, this match was really good, and Sensational Sherry.
Oh, killing it.
Well,
killing it.
Can I sidebar here?
You can sidebar.
I have no historical reference for this because, like I say, I wasn't watching wrestling at this time at all. And DiBiase especially, I've seen more of his Mid-South stuff, like in the heel faction with Duggan and Matt Bourne, than I saw any of his WWF or later like NWO stuff or anything like that. And I really enjoyed the match itself, and I know that she's revered in wrestling circles, so this is going to be a bit of a controversial opinion. But holy mother of God, Sensational Sherry is the most annoying human being. And I get that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that's definitely the point.
But for me, I hate this term because I really like the guy and I don't like it being associated with him, but that's X-Pac heat for me. I had to turn the sound off, which obviously isn't that big a deal when you've got Japanese commentary anyway. But
No.
Please, somebody give me historical context and explain to me why Sensational Sherry is so great.
We should also...
Because to me, she's just...
Annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying
But
that,
not
but
in
then
a good
Jimmy
way.
Hart is on the card later on with a megaphone.
But this is exactly my point. Jimmy Hart with a megaphone was not as annoying as Sherry Martel
That might
without
be.
one, and that is totally unbelievable to me.
That's the boldest statement anyone's possibly ever made.
I mean, maybe so, but this is where I stand. I just no.
No.
None of
Okay.
that or any of the other.
Well, Sherry was quite the draw in the AWA. She was a fair to middling women's wrestler. She wasn't fantastic. I think even she would have admitted that, but she certainly tried just that much harder than everybody else. And one of the reasons why she got a long-term job in the WWF was she was always willing to show her ass, which was the key thing for a heel to do. But also she was willing to work harder than most other people. And certainly her run. I mean, if you look at her run in the 80s with Randy Savage, she was imperious as the heel valet there. And also, she was Peggy Sue, which was Honky Tonk Man's valet with Jimmy Hart, which would have...
Oh my God!
You must never watch those matches.
Don't watch WrestleMania 4. There are other reasons not to watch WrestleMania 4.
I was gonna
Mainly
say, I think
because
there's
it's really
plenty,
long
yeah.
and very boring.
Yeah.
Pretty good life advice. Already.
But yeah, she was a hard worker. She knew what she was doing about riling up a crowd, and it may just annoy you.
I mean,
but
this
could
is a
find
small
millions of
sample
people who
size.
disagree. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this is a very small sample size.
If we
I just-
sampled 100 size, there would be a very negative response.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's also be honest. Like, if there was half a valet in WWE today, like,
Well, I mean...
Maurice aside, obviously.
well,
very good.
indeed. Yes.
So, I have to disagree with you.
No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I disagree
I
also,
just,
yeah.
clearly I need more seasoning.
Yeah, I thought she was hilarious
Yeah.
throughout the whole match, to be honest. But
Crash
yeah.
course in Sensational Sherry is what we're going
That's
to do.
clearly what
That's
I
the
need.
next podcast after we finish Beginner's Guide to
Right.
Japan.
The life and times.
Yes. I bet Chelsea would be up for that. I'm sure she would. So, right then, we'll move on to the SWS Light Heavyweight title match, which was Naoki Sano, who's defeating Rick Martel in 7 minutes and 29 seconds. Now, if Rick Martel's a junior heavyweight,
Yeah,
I'm
what?
Sky Lolo.
This is for the light heavyweight championship. What?
I mean, Tony Nese can be in a cruiserweight division that has the weight limit in the title of the show. So
Yeah, but come on, Rick Martel
Yeah.
was 245 if he was an ounce.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
He was bigger. He looked bigger than when he held heavyweight titles. Like, that was the thing. Like, he was so ripped in this match. It was like, yeah. I don't know how they got away, but like the fact they had the Ultimo Dragon Estrada match earlier in the night, and they're like, no, these are totally junior heavyweights.
Well, they're
though, guys.
middleweights. They are.
Yeah.
You see. What you got there is, because like Estrada was the CMLL middleweight champion, so they're not junior heavyweights at all. They're the next thing up.
but half of that was his
Afro, yeah.
Yeah.
And the tassels as well. He has to keep
Yeah.
them on.
But this was also an example of, like, the Japanese presentation. He was Rick Martel, not Rick the Model Martel, because
Yes.
there'll be a lot of fond memories of Martel as the AWA champion who defended that title in New Japan. So they were trying to get that connection and that cachet from what you'd seen before.
And here again, because I only really know of Rick Martel from
The model. Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised at how good he actually is, because I just kind of assumed he was going to be one of those WWF guys who they gave, you're a plumber, or you're a off-duty bus driver.
Yeah. You collect taxes.
Yeah,
that was a guy.
Everybody hates those dudes. But no, I really enjoyed this match. I was quite surprised at that. I didn't feel like he was being dragged along in any way. I don't know anything about Sano. So
to be honest, I don't much either. But it was kind of like, essentially this was a layover from the Tiger Mask Dynamite Kid days of you had to have a junior heavyweight title to be considered a serious wrestling company.
Yeah.
I mean,
and everybody
put it
had
on
their
junior
different twist.
heavyweights.
I think
Well,
I think that should still be a rule, personally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Alex, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought I was really impressed as well. Don't know anything of Sano. Again, like some of his offense was really impressive. Like that, he was wrestling a bit like a classic junior heavyweight would with the flips and stuff. Particularly, his tope over the top rope look thoroughly unpleasant for both of them, the way they landed. And yeah, like the finish where he did the moonsault, land on his feet, and did the German suplex into the pin was really impressive. And yeah, I agree with Si, like, about Rick Martel, like, as a worker. Like, there are a few examples of this on the card, like, where the American guys have really stepped up their game. And that it was really noticeable that, yeah, I didn't think he was as good a worker as that. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good match. I think it would have been even better if it was longer, only went about 7 minutes. But for a 7-minute match, it was a lovely piece of work, I thought.
Just?
Yes. Si, have you anything else to add?
No, I feel 7 minutes for that sort of match it's like the perfect 2-minute Punk song.
There you go.
Nice.
You're in, you're out.
Yeah.
No messing.
It's
Also, Sano
no
nearly...
noodling.
It's the... Sorry, Karen.
I was going to say Sano nearly falling flat on his face at his entrance, going for the Ultimo Dragon WrestleMania entrance there.
It's a descendants of a match, is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Okay. So we move on to a singles match, which absolutely proved you don't have to do anything to make a crowd go crazy in Tokyo. Yoshiaki Fujiwara, who looked about 75-year-old then, in 1991, and is still wrestling to this day.
That is a grizzled man.
Yeah, he's had hard paper around that one.
He defeated Ishin Riki in 11 minutes and 12 seconds, where essentially not a lot happened. But it was an entertaining...
But it was a great nothing, though. This is totally my jam.
Yes, go on then, Si. What do you reckon of this?
I love this match. I could watch this sort of thing all day. Just 10 minutes or 11 minutes or whatever it was of not quite getting submission holds on. That's me. I'm one of these idiots who likes a sort of 3-3 game of rugby. This is absolutely my thing.
Okay, then. Alex, what did you think?
Yes, I much the same. I like that Ishin Riki, like, it's weird that he was on top for most of the match.
Yeah,
but he looked terrified for the whole thing. He was very aware that he was like hitting Fujiwara, I think.
And that's it, isn't it? There's just this overwhelming sense of tension throughout the entire match, just real palpable, somebody might die.
Well, I think ultimately there's that feeling that if Fujiwara wants to kill him, he could kill him.
This is more this is more drama and more tension and more sense of impending doom than I will ever get out of any sort of no rope, barbed wire, C4 explosive, piranha filled, whatever you've got. I would much rather have like this might end in somebody's limb being broken than
which it very nearly did. To be fair,
some idiot who's getting paid a tenner is gonna die, because they fell through a light fitting.
Well, I mean, for those of you who don't know, we haven't really talked an awful lot about Yoshiaki Fujiwara, but he was of the Shoot generation. He was one of the trainers that kind of developed Nobuyuki Takada and Akira Maeda and Satoru Sayama in their love of the martial art of pro wrestling, and he was trained by Karl Gotch. He loved shoot fighting. He loved submission wrestling. Arguably, at this point, was probably the most dangerous straight shooter in pro wrestling in Japan, certainly.
Which is saying something.
Yeah, but on the outside, he's a comedy character. He liked a bit of fun. There's a UWF documentary which features Karl Gotch and his wife, and looks at Karl Gotch, which I watched for the history of Japanese wrestling that we did a while back with Chelsea. And Fujiwara's character in that documentary is just wandering around Karl Gotch's hometown, lost. And at one point, Medusa Maselli gives him directions in Japanese. And it's just like
the end of The Great Escape.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh!
And then he goes to Karl Gotch's house, and they just have this training session, which is big lads hitting each other, really.
That's how they train in Japan. They just beat each other up.
Yeah, and Fujiwara is just ace. The next year, he has a match with Chono at Tokyo Dome on a New Japan Supercard, which is just hilariously funny because Chono spends a lot of his time just trying to stay out of the way of Fujiwara. And at one point, Fujiwara does the Rick Rude bump and grind on the top rope, which is just hilarious. And the last match I saw Fujiwara in was tagging with, if I remember right, it was Akira Shida against Kana and Minoru Suzuki. which was brilliant.
You're having that. You're having that.
It's like 4 of the hardest people in the world hitting each other really hard in a mixed gender tag match. So yeah, Alex, what did you think of this?
Well, I've said some things about Ishimriki's terror, like it just was like he was slapping him, and you could see in his face, "Is like, please don't make me do this." Because he like
every one of these is coming back. Like,
because he was landing them. Fujiwara was basically just looking at him like, "That's cute." I'm going to kill you in a second. The end of the match, he pretty much did, like, ripped his arm off and ate it. Basically, that was the finish, pretty much. Yeah, it was an interesting spectacle for what it was. I was just shocked at like how much Fujiwara was on the bottom. Like, it took him a while to make the comeback, but I guess it was like trying to get the other guy over was kind of the idea. They obviously like hugged out at the end and did the old raising each other's arm and stuff like that. So
Fujiwara was smiling the entire way through.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah, as a shark does.
Yeah, and the leg lock armbar as well. I quite liked rather than the usual.
Yeah,
that was quite fun.
There was lots of cool, interesting stuff, all straight from Wigan.
Clearly, yeah,
of course.
Yeah. And taught like in the dark room by old men.
Well, I mean, we are
men.
sat in a club that plays a lot of Northern Soul, so I think
we're
all the best stuff
circle.
comes from Wigan. We know this.
Yes,
like,
I'm assuming Marty Jones walked past this on his way to the work every day.
Bound to.
Yes,
he's probably in here, to be honest with you, on a Saturday night.
Imagine that.
Well, Jack Gallagher's been in, so
nice.
He trained at the Snake Pit.
Mark Rocco having a Bloody Mary of a Saturday evening in
Yep.
1983. I would imagine him being
Wiping the tomato juice off his mustache.
or off somebody else's mustache.
With somebody else's mustache.
Okay, we move
Should
on.
we shout out to the entrance music as well?
Oh yeah, the entrance good. Go for this.
The rock version of Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah,
is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like what was a shoot style match, and then of course Ride the Valkyries made its appearance here.
Yeah.
Because 2 decades before.
I was like, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What?
Daniel Bryan wished he could have wrestled like that. To be honest, if Daniel Bryan had wrestled like that, he wouldn't be in the bother he's in now.
Well, there is
that.
Yeah.
And I've said that before on this podcast. So there you go. Anyway,
yeah.
Move on to the WWF World Tag Team title match, which pitted the natural disasters, John Tenta Earthquake, who'd had an awful lot of time in Japan.
Yes.
Typhoon, Uncle Fred.
Yeah. The Shark and the Shockmaster. Let's use their proper names.
Two men who would be bequeathed some of the worst gimmicks in pro wrestling history. And to be fair to John Tenta, he understood they were shite.
Yes, but he also understood how legitimately over in Japan he was.
Yeah, very knew well that was. And speaking of over in Japan, they defended they were challenging for the WWF World Tag Team Champions, then held by Animal and Hook, the Legion of Doom. Or more correctly, the Road Warriors, who came out to Iron Man, as we said earlier in the podcast.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was like, the first time, to be honest with you, because I didn't listen to a lot of rock music when I was really young, the first time I heard Iron Man was the first time I saw the Road Warriors. So
That's
it was
pretty
like,
rad.
It was like, and it absolutely scared the shit out of me. And these two guys come like, ah! And it was still such an impressive affair. It was such an impressive just entrance. All they did was walk up the ramp and the place. You get the full Road Warrior pop. This is what the Road Warriors are all about.
Which is so unusual in Japan in of itself, really.
Yeah.
You don't tend to get those reactions on an entrance.
No.
More so these days, but back then, when it was very much the kind of golf clap. Crowd,
But
wasn't
they
it? The
loved
total
them.
silence, and then the
When those chords started, it was like, oh, we're in it now.
Yeah,
We're
this is
here.
it.
Here we go.
Yeah, this was actually really, really good. And, also, Fred Ottman and John Tenta were actually on it. They tried really, really hard in this match. I was really impressed with their work rate, which from watching the matches of their era, they didn't do a lot. But again, that was the WWF way with big guys. Don't do much. Try and emphasize your size. You don't have to run around and chain wrestle these guys. Hit them really hard. So it was very interesting. And Jimmy Hart, being the premier manager that he was, shouting advice, which because of the quietness of the crowd, once they settled down, you could actually hear, which was, stay on him, baby, stay on him, which, was just basic manager stuff. So, Alex, what did you think of this?
Just classic manager stuff. Yeah, no, this was one of those examples of the American guys doing so much more in Japan. Like they were working so much hard. Like if you saw this match in WWF at the time, there's no way they're doing the work they're doing in this one. Like Legion of Doom throwing out drop kicks all the time, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there was still some serious no selling at times. It has to be
just
said.
a little bit.
Yeah, which was kind of the Road Warriors modus operandi, to be fair. The main thing I noticed, besides, Jimmy Hart getting tossed to the outside was very entertaining. Even Hawk can't break a Japanese table. The strongest material known to man is what Japanese tables are made from.
I believe they make the same stuff out of black boxes in airplanes made out
Yeah.
of the same stuff.
Well, no,
Yeah.
it's the child's doll, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's always left in a wreckage. Like there's
Yeah.
always a big untouched child's doll in the center of the collapsed building. It's that material.
Yeah. So, what do you reckon of this match?
The minute this match started and they just went to the outside and started wailing on each other with chairs and throwing each other through tables, I was just like, well, I guess they just looked at the rest of the card and thought, well, we can't really keep up with this, can we? So let's bring the gimmicks. I was sort of totally nonplussed with this match. I'm not gonna lie.
Not good enough by your standards.
It just didn't do anything for me. I think without the historical perspective, I've never really got the Road Warriors.
Wow.
That's
I
interesting.
know, again,
Yeah.
but one of them has purposely shaved his head to look like an old man.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I
feel
know.
like that wasn't what the vibe he was going
No,
for.
I mean, well, it's clearly somebody had said, "Hey, do you know what it'd be cool? A reverse mohawk."
But is that not because...
I'm assuming it was the same guy who told Hogan that the skullet was a good look.
It's fair. I don't think Hogan had much of a say in that because of his male pattern baldness, to be fair.
I don't know. He sure seemed to be milking.
It
that.
was Hawk's idea was that if I have a double mohawk and you have a single mohawk, it looked like we could plug each other in.
But it's not a double mohawk, though, is it? I mean, if what I'm saying is, if you shave the sides, I realise that this podcast is solely about haircuts now. And you're going to need to start
Lot
putting
of
it in like
haircut chat.
a different category on
like
iTunes. But if you shave the side of your head and then maybe a tiny little strip down the middle and had two lines, like go faster stripes, but in hair, fine, no problem with that at all. But just one straight down the middle just makes you look like you're an old man who's accidentally shaved the back of his neck too far.
Okay, all right.
Well, it's like...
I know they were huge in a time that guys
Yeah.
weren't huge. I get that. Like they were. It's a time and a place thing. Like, don't get me started on how much I hate the Sex Pistols, because this is the same thing.
Wow. Calling out all the legends here.
Bearing in mind where we're sat.
Free trade halls across the other side of town. It's fine. I appreciated the extra work rate from the natural disasters that you didn't normally see.
Yeah.
And that was great. But Road Warriors just never did anything for me.
Okay then.
And I think it's maybe because my first experience of them was Legion of Doom. And
It was
not
at the
Road
end
Warriors.
rather than you didn't
Yes.
see the fire-breathing dragon that was the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering in Georgia and
No. And
NWA,
my recent experiences with Paul Ellering on NXT have done nothing to
Sully
to
his
excite me
reputation.
anymore.
Yeah.
I think he's doing all right. Like, he's still a very good
I like the
promo.
Authors of Pain. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't have a problem with those guys. But yeah, I think.
I promise. Please don't hurt me.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think maybe it's just because my experience of the Road Warriors is more the countless number of inferior teams that they spawned.
Yeah.
Because they all came later, more my kind of period. And
Yeah.
then it's like when you go back and watch old comedy movies and realise that all the cliches that you've been watching for 30 years came from this one movie. But
Yeah.
it's not funny to you anymore. You understand, like, it needed to exist for everything else that you enjoy to have existed, but you don't enjoy it anymore because of all the terrible things that it spawned.
Okay.
You know, like Pearl Jam and Creed.
Despair and Nickelback. Right then.
Just the human sense of despair.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was a band that I wasn't aware of.
No, the human sense of despair and Nickelback. Moving on then to the final main event match, which was not a World Championship match. I was trying to think who was the World Champion at this point in WWE, and then I realised it was probably Ric Flair, wasn't it? 91? Yes.
No, just he won.
No, it would
Istanbul
be
92.
It would have been Ultimate Warrior then, which would be the reason why he wasn't in the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still what?
But no, it'd be Warrior, Slaughter. It would have been because Warrior lost the title to Slaughter at the Royal Rumble a month later.
Start doing your thing. I'll have a look.
Okay then. So this match was Hulk Hogan, who defeated Genichiro Tenryu in 13 minutes and 57 seconds. A match graded 1 1/4 stars by Meltzer, but the cage match users rated it as 6.7, so it's recommended. Anything above 6
I mean,
is recommended.
what does Uncle Dave know? Anyway?
Yeah. This week, I know we don't really know. We don't normally talk about.
Here we go. I was wondering when you get up to say this on the podcast.
I just tossed it up for him.
When we don't do the history, when we do the history ones, we try not to talk about current events because it dates them. However, this week, Dave Meltzer actually came out and said that Kana was a huge star for World Wondering Stardom. She never wrestled for World Wondering Stardom. I'd like to point that out. Okay.
He will come after you on Twitter. Don't upset him.
I sent the message directly to him saying, Dave, did you really say this? Because that is so far wrong, it's on another planet, and he never answered back. So
No.
I'm
surprised you're not blocked.
To be honest, I haven't checked. Anyway,
you've got to ask yourself though, what rating would he have given it if it hadn't have been in the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Because it drew 65,000 people to it. So it couldn't have been that bad.
I am surprised he's given it that low a rating, considering is it just because
Tenryu.
Hulk Hogan's involved? Do you think
this was
drags it down 2 stars?
Well, this was a period where he never gave 5-star matches to WWF battles ever.
I'd just like to point out the only reason I wanted to come on this podcast is to start fights with Meltzer. So, what's the point in even having a Twitter account if you don't fight Meltzer?
Yeah.
Surely.
Anyway, yes.
Meltzer or Piers Morgan, depending on which sphere.
I mean,
you
let's
use
not
Twitter
put those two people in the same.
I'm not saying for the same reasons, obviously.
Now Spindler does that. He has arguments with Piers Morgan and Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
Anyway, this match was pretty interesting for what it was. We got Super Show Hulk Hogan in Japan, which meant much more wrestling-y type stuff. He tried to do all sorts of things.
So much wrestling.
Yeah,
all the wrestling.
All the wrestling, in fact. More wrestling than in his entire first run with the WWF
Yeah, he
Championship.
literally exhausted all his wrestling in this match, I think.
Left it in Japan.
Yeah.
He forgot to bring the bag that he had it in back to America with him.
Well, he used the big boot twice, and it didn't work.
Well, he hit him once, and Tenryu nearly didn't go down. I was like, that's bold. If he stayed on his feet.
My notes, which I forgot, just say... kicked out of the leg drop in massive letters.
Yeah. Twice, didn't he? Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, Si, what did you think of this match?
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I sort of feel like...
Vindicated.
No. No, because you have to think that you're wrong in the first place to be vindicated.
Yeah,
So obviously that doesn't affect me. No, I feel like if I'd seen loads of Hulk Hogan like this, then I would have more of a feeling about him that I think I'm going to have about Cena in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
Because they are pretty comparative.
Yeah,
in terms of, not styles or anything like that, but certainly their place in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like to slag Cena off, but he is great.
Okay.
Is this going to be another controversial opinion? I know. I understand I've come onto this podcast and I've slagged off Sensational Sherry, the Road Warriors, and said
and
Cena
now bigging
is great,
up John Cena.
and also likened Dave Meltzer to Piers Morgan.
And Sex Pistols. You slagged off the Sex Pistols.
Slagged the Sex Pistols as well.
Yeah. John Cena greater than the Sex Pistols. That's basically what you've said on this podcast.
Yeah. No, I'd go with that. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get a t-shirt made.
Yeah, it's mark tape. Because we need this for the intro, the compilation, greatest hits. I feel like if this had been more of what we'd seen of Hogan, and I know as we were discussing this off air.
Yes.
And you were quite rightly saying that he didn't need to do any more than he was doing in America, and that's what got him over and all these kind of things. And I get that. And absolutely. But it's nice to know that he had it in him, I think.
That's true.
I
I will point
Not
out...
to say that he didn't have great matches on occasion with, well, I was going to say with the right people. There's a Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan match that I really enjoy.
Yeah. The WrestleMania 6 one.
Yeah.
The WCW one,
with the perfect fire paper.
Yeah.
That
went off without
best
a hitch.
use of the fireball spot I've ever seen since Mick Foley set Terry Funk on fire. But yeah, it's nice to be able to go back and watch these Hulk Hogan Japanese matches and just go, I will explain the reason why I've not asked Chelsea to do this one is because she made me promise never to make her watch Hulk Hogan matches ever again. Oh wow!
Because I have to.
I'm not going that far with either Sherry or the Road Warriors.
No,
Is this because of the way he wrestles or because of his extracurricular activities?
I mean, if you're going to start with that, there's a lot wrestling.
Of stuff.
It's the way he wrestles because when we did the Birth of New Japan episode, obviously features quite heavily. And Chelsea said you made me watch lots of Hulk Hogan matches. I don't like you anymore. All right, I do like you, but don't ever make that again. So yeah,
but it's like we say, it's good Hulk Hogan matches. Good Hulk
Hogan
he's trying.
Matches,
Not that he didn't try, but like we say, he's not running through the usual US routine that he did.
No, there's a lot of trying to shoot the half and leg locks.
Yeah,
and...
he went for a bloody cross arm breaker at the start. When he did that, it was like, we're in this now. Hulk Hogan's got his working boots on.
Foot is down on the accelerator. We are heading towards a brick wall.
So what did you think of this, Alex?
I thought it was really good. Were you about to fill us in on
I know
where...
this is the longest Google session.
The Wikipedia search.
I actually found out who was champion. It was the world famous Vacant.
Just before the Rumble. And
Hulk Hogan won it on December 3rd.
Oh, of course, it's that one.
And he vacated it the day after. And then
so this is right after the Taker stuff.
So, well, I mean, it's...
Yeah, it would have been Tuesday.
Tuesday
in Texas was the week before.
God, that really puts that's an interest when you consider then the match that he had at this show is around that era.
Jack Tunney laying the smackdown.
Old Jack Tunney.
Jack Tunney.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy to see like the work Hogan was putting in because I was thinking more this was the same year he had that woeful WrestleMania main event with Sergeant Slaughter. To go from that to this is pretty impressive. Like. I was quite shocked watching it how little offense Tenryu seemed to get in. That was kind of noticeable to me. Like he chopped him quite a bit to the point that Hogan looked like he did not want any part of those chops. Much was cool. He took about two and was like, let's stop this now,
when
please.
You spend your entire life on a sunbed.
It's
got to be a tender area, surely. Like.
That was another thing from this week. Dave Finlay went to the beach this week.
Dave Finlay went to the beach. Is that like a feature?
Dave Finlay Jr. went to the beach this week, and it was trying to get a tan, like the whitest man in the world trying to get a tan. And he was like, "I'm slightly worried I'm going to burn." And then there's someone who watched about Man Up, and it's like.
Yeah.
What? No.
Oh, of course,
Yeah, you get your day job is getting hit in the chest really hard. Why are you trying to get a suntan?
Nothing says masculinity like melanoma.
Yeah.
We all know this.
But also thinking about it on the Hogan thing, wasn't he like doing the rounds with Flair at the time? So he should have been used to taking chops, if anything.
Well, there is that about it.
Yeah, that's a bit unusual. I would have thought, but then Tenryu's chops are pretty stiff.
Although it'd have been taking him about sort of midriff high, wouldn't it?
I love that you were motioning, forgetting that we're on a podcast.
This is good radio.
This area.
It's good radio.
This area here.
We don't normally have this problem because you can do it and I wouldn't see it because you're on Skype.
I'd still be doing it though. I'd be sat alone in my house on Skype going, look, one of these.
I'm not talking to anyone, not on a podcast or anything, just, how do you spend a Friday? Like, come on.
No, we alluded to it earlier, but the sort of who's the heel dynamic in this match. It's
Yeah.
really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Hogan, especially there's a point early on in the match where he shoves the ref out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I
rakes
was
his
like, oh, he's going
eyes
to go
and-
full on heel. That's really interesting. I thought that'd be dead interesting. It was one of the reasons I wanted to know how the American audience saw it, because I thought, well, if Hogan's working heel, there's no way they're showing this to the WWF audience at the time. But he sort of toyed with it a little bit. But then the end of the match was full on Hulkamania, except with the lariat instead of the leg drop being his finisher.
Axe Bomber.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
Axe
how
Bomber.
it's pronounced as well. Axe Bomber. Yeah.
But no, he was quite like cocky and like
Yeah.
he had was it like he had him-
Thunderlips-esque.
Yeah, very good, solid. reference.
Nice reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like raking the eyes, and he had him in a chin lock and was sort of very cockily smiling at the audience.
the rake of
and
the
stuff
eyes,
Like
that was-
that.
yeah,
it
definitely.
was very interesting. Also, like I say, with Tenryu not getting a lot in down the stretch, where Hogan just hit so many finishes. Has anyone ever looked that strong in defeat to Hulk Hogan? Because I'm
Probably
struggling.
not.
He
No.
kicked out of about 2 axe bombers, 2 leg
yeah.
drops.
Ultimate
It's
Warrior
like-
didn't even look that strong in victory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody kicking out at 3.0
Yeah,
zero,
no,
zero,
it's spot
one
on, yeah.
count, you know.
Like I can't think of an example where someone's looked that strong in defeat. So
No.
that was really interesting as well. Also, Hogan hitting a jumping knee at one point.
Yeah.
Fucking Kenny
I thought
Omega
he was going
showed
to pull
up.
out. I thought he was going to pull out the Shining Wizard at one point.
Yeah, some of the stuff he was cracking out.
Yeah,
was
there
like,
was a couple of
who's this
Hogan
guy?
insecurities which you never saw.
Yeah, Insecurity as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
I was
who's
wait-
this guy?
I was
What
waiting
have
for the
you
Jim
done with
Break
Hulk
special. Or the Russ Abbott special, even better.
Yeah, this was an interesting main event, certainly, and it's like, but it was indicative of what SWS were trying to do at the time. They were trying to be a proper cross-promotional company, and they did kind of stick. It was a couple of years before they did wind out with the sponsorship deal from the optics company we was talking about, and they became War, and we'll look at them in a few years' time, because War was really interesting. They were developing all sorts of different ideas, but you had this King's Road style that Tenryu had taken forward from All Japan Pro Wrestling, and the booking is very much in that way. There's lots of build and chaining moves together to get wins. So what do you think of the style of the show, Alex? What do you think it had a cohesive style, and did it help that you had all those former All Japan guys there?
It definitely didn't have a cohesive style. I didn't think. It was very like random and mishmashed. Which was kind of sums up what SWS was. But like I said earlier, like in terms of, I thought it was a good show overall because of that, because it was kind of that there's something for everyone kind of idea that you had
the three-ring circus theory.
Yeah. That you had like the lucha stuff, you had junior heavyweights. Arguably, even though this is whether they're junior heavyweights is debatable, you know, you had the big
Are they
American
still junior
guys.
heavyweights if they're in their 50s?
Yeah, that's also
a question we have to ask.
Jushin Liger is, so we can
Is he
confirm.
though? I mean,
But yeah, and you had the shoot stuff, you had the cross promotional stuff, you know, American heavyweight style. There was a lot of stuff. I think like there's something for everyone to like. It was that kind of idea where, and I think on paper, the WCW New Japan show should have been better, but I think this was better overall. It probably didn't have like
It didn't have those super duper matches.
but it also didn't have the filler like, you know, a couple of the squash matches we spoke about, which were just dreadful.
And it
like,
definitely didn't have Scott Norton versus
yeah, which is probably the worst match in recorded history. So
I love that.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
No.
can confirm you would not have loved that match.
No.
So what are your thoughts coming out of the show then, Si?
I really enjoyed this show. I'm not sure about the lack of cohesion. I mean, I wasn't as cohesive as a show set in a single wrestling universe bubble, as it were. But like for a cross promotional show, I thought it was pretty well done. It almost felt like, I mean, I have no idea what the storyline. Were there storylines in SWS?
Not really.
We don't-
Not
was
really.
it-
No, not really. At that time, it was too much. This guy versus this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
which
how
was
many
enough. Which was
shows-
enough
I
to
mean,
put
that-
65,000
I was going to
people
say
in
that's
Tokyo
enough
Dome.
for me. Like I just
Yeah.
that's what I just love the athletic contest sort of thing, and I
Yeah.
felt like one of the things I often love about Japanese wrestling is you can watch these matches with the Japanese commentary on, but within 2 minutes you know the story of the two guys in the ring. Like you can just work it out from body language and how they're working.
Which is true of most Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it annoys
yeah.
me when people are like, oh, I can't get into it because of the commentary. It's
Yeah,
like,
like,
just you
just
can.
what-
Like,
yeah,
it's-
just put your phone down.
yeah.
Watch it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I felt like the WWF guys quite seamlessly moved into it. It's surprisingly, in many cases, like I was saying about Rick Martel earlier on and Hogan.
Yeah.
I just thought it really worked, apart from the Road Warriors
Yeah.
match, which I just didn't give a damn about.
It's ironic because the Japanese fans love that. So it's,
Yeah, which is fine, but like, I mean, well, now you look at the New Japan tag champs at the minute,
Yeah. War Machine.
who essentially are the natural
Road Warriors.
disasters.
Yeah.
Mixed with
the Road Warriors. Yeah.
But I love War Machine. Like,
Yeah.
So
There
I
you
don't know. I think it's just it's a historical perspective thing, and I don't have the sort of I don't have those sepia tinted memories of bygone eras.
Fair
So I'm
enough.
sort of glad I don't about the early 90s, to be honest with you, because
Yeah. Not good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this show was great.
Yeah, it's interesting, like we say, where WWF was at the time in sort of that period, and it was about to get good again, but it was not great like in
No.
1991.
No.
So to see those same guys on a show like this having those kind of matches is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's an interesting sign of the times, like if you like.
Yeah. Right then. Well, that pretty much brings our podcast to an end today. And, this show is really, really good. You should have a look at it. It's something a bit different. And to be honest, you don't get many shows with a giant inflatable dragon on the main entranceway.
I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah. I'm assuming somebody like Attack in Wales does that.
Yeah, you would imagine so.
It's that kind of thing. But I do enjoy the show. You can find it fairly readily available in various different places that we
It's
talked
only
about
2
earlier.
hours as well.
Yeah.
And it goes by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It doesn't drag or anything like that. So
Yeah, have a good time with it. So I'd like to thank my guest for today. That's Mr. Simon Heath.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you can find him at Butlins Club on Twitter.
You can if you want, but
Please don't bother him.
I don't really want you
Leave
to.
me alone,
But yeah, you could do.
Yeah. And also Mr. Alexander Watts of the BBC. You can find at Alex187 on Twitter. Thank you for your
Alex
time,
Watt 187. I
Alex
would like the
Watt.
followers, please. I would like people.
Is that a murder, death, kill reference?
That is, we talk about this, I feel, every time someone news on. That is, yes. I was a big Homicide the Wrestler, not Homicide the Thing.
Right.
Homicide the Wrestler during his ROH stint. I
I
was
was
a
going to
big
say, not
fan
Homicide,
back in
mate.
the
You're
day.
not back on TNA then, are you?
No. His Ring of Honor stint. I want to
we
make that
haven't
very
got
clear.
time for you
Yeah.
to be bringing up TNA at this late. I've already done my rants.
You guys are like, we want to get to progress
Yeah,
today.
exactly.
Like, we'll be here for
you know.
hours ranting about TNA.
Oh, yeah. No, Spindler wants us to do a TNA episode just so that I go crazy, apparently.
Yep.
So we'll probably not do that. Thank you very
Please,
much.
can we though? Like, it would be
Oh.
entertaining.
Well, you bet Marcus would be quite upset, so maybe it's worth listening to. I've never heard Marcus quite upset.
Yeah,
So
I'll
that'd be a new
chair that
experience.
one. I'll ask the questions happily, just so you can rant incessantly.
That won't be a podcast. That'd be a shrink session. We'd be on a couch. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to us today. You can listen to the other podcasts on the Wrestle Talk Podcast Network. That's The Squash with Ben Spindler, the aforementioned Ben Spindler, and Gavin Duenis. I really do love the feature Getting to Know You with Gavin Duenis at the moment. You should listen to that. It's really, really good. Model Village enthusiast, Gavin Duenis. Thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you very much for listening to the Wrestle Talk Podcast Network. Take care. We'll be back next week, I think, with more from The Beginner's Guide to Japan. Bye.